the necessity for independence of particularly the Inspector Generals, obviously of judges, to be free of partisanship. And it is incredibly important, and I don't want to downplay that at all. But we also have to accept you at your word. If you say you're going to be impartial, we either believe you or we don't believe you. And if they choose not to believe you, that's one thing. But I think, your comments should be treated with respect. I'm a big fan of the Inspector General program, and I'll give you just one example of where we learned something incredibly important. It was from the Defense Inspector General. During COVID, it became aware that there's a lot of facts pointing towards that the virus may have come from a lab in Wuhan and not from a wet market, not from animals. But one of the biggest things we got was from a whistleblower, a lieutenant colonel, who came forward and he said, you know what? The lab that was close to the wet market there where people are saying it might have come from, they submitted a proposal to DARPA in 2018 called Diffuse, and it looked a lot like what the virus became. They were talking about creating a virus with a certain cleavage site to enter the cells, which was unusual in coronaviruses, and then lo and behold, the same people proposing that 2 years before didn't get the money, but then this research project was hidden. But people said it was a smoking gun and pointed heavily towards the lab in Wuhan. But we only heard about it through an inspector general. And so it's important that that inspector general didn't look at it as, oh, I'm going to protect President Trump or I'm going to protect President Biden. It is the truth. So it is incredibly important. And I hope all of you will take that into account. It's the same with the judges. We've gone through 4 years of lawfare, where President Trump has been attacked repeatedly, where they've changed the law so they can go after him, where they've said, well, there was a statute of limitations on the claim of the one woman in New York. They just changed the statute of limitations. They took and bundled records complaints and bundled 30 of them and made them all into felonies. They did things with the law that ultimately were rebuked by the public. So it does take a lot of gall then to have them come forward and lecture us and lecture Republican nominees about how, you're going to be impartial. I want you to be, though. I don't want you to go back and say, oh, this is my time for retribution against the other side. I want you all to be bigger than that. There's probably very few in the Senate who are as ecumenical and as even-handed as I am. I haven't always been apologizing for the president. In fact, I'm one of the Republicans who has been unafraid to criticize the president on policy more than anybody else. But the thing is that we do expect that in our civil servants. And Mr. Morin, can you comment on how you would approach the job and as an impartial judge and as an inspector general?
Yes, Senator. My background is being a law clerk to a federal judge, where I had to give the judge my best independent legal advice. I worked for the Department of Justice as a trial lawyer investigating customs fraud, and my job there was to provide independent advice to the Attorney General with regard to those prosecutions. In my role as legal counsel to the General Counsel at the Department of Defense, again, my job was to give the best independent legal advice I could to benefit the department. In private practice, again, I had to give opinions to clients that they didn't want to hear. So I feel that this background, also my military background as a lieutenant colonel and having to work through the problems in Afghanistan, I have made a career of independent legal advice.
And I think people in the military, particularly with rising to that rank, have a long history in the military of trying to treat things objectively and not bring religion or politics into things. Now, Mr. Esposito, you have been a politician, so you've seen both sides of it. You've seen the barbs and the unfair accusations, and everybody on both sides has done that. Are you willing and able, and will you pledge not to be a politician, to be an inspector general and to evaluate things? I guess you said you were also a policeman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. I've spent most of my adult life in the public service world. I'm a 26-year member of the volunteer fire department back home, where I served as chief from 2009 to 2016. I was the incident commander during Hurricane Sandy, and my community was one of the hardest hit on the East Coast. And when we responded to the hundreds of thousands of calls during that time and during my time as a firefighter and chief, never once did political ideology come in place. I served 16 years in the New York City Police Department, some of it as a cop and then promoted to detective. I left the department, retired from the department with over close to 700 arrests, over 50 medals for meritorious and excellent police duty. I dismantled gangs. I took hundreds of guns off the street. I removed poison from communities to make them safer, made arrests for bribery, and never once was it politically motivated. And then I came to Congress, and I was named one of the most bipartisan members of the 118th
I appreciate your service, and I take you at your word, and we will hopefully see good service from you that is objective.
Thank you.
With that, that concludes our hearing. Thank you all for coming today. The nominees have filed responses to biographical and financial questions. They have answered pre-hearing questions. They've also submitted opening statements, and these have all everything's been reviewed by the Office of Government Ethics. Additionally, the committee has received letters of support for the nominees. All this will be made part of the record. So without objection, this information will be part of the hearing record, and with the exception of the nominees' financial data, which are on file in the committee, the hearing record will remain open until noon tomorrow, October 24th. The hearing is adjourned. Thank you all.